it's fun to finally meet you and talk to you, especially, you know, you're somewhat of a newer artist in this sphere, at least. I guess to get it started off, as I was talking to you earlier, even just trying to do like a little bit of, you know, my little bit of research and all that, trying to see, you know, what the background is and all that. There's not much on the interwebs when it comes to that. So I guess when it comes to music and writing, like obviously you have your 4 tracks and all that stuff, and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into TikTok. But where does like did you write music before? Were you ever like in a project before? Was it like, is this the first kind of writing you've done?
So I moved out to LA in 2015, straight out of high school.
Okay.
And when I moved out there, I thought like initially I wanted to either be like a tour manager or doing something in marketing or like sync licensing, something like on the administrative side of like the music industry.
Right.
All my teachers, like professors, whatever, they were all saying, hey, we think you're more suited for the songwriting world. Because I had even been telling people in 2017, like, I don't know, doing Instagram all the time seems very anxiety inducing. I don't think that's for me.
Right.
Which ironically, now my whole like shtick is I'm a social media girl of like, you know, whatever. But yeah, so at the time I was like working in the songwriting world, kind of in the pop and hip hop / Latin music world, which is even like more strange because I don't speak Spanish that I was doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was in that realm because around the time that I moved out here, it was like 2015. So that was when all that stuff like first started coming out about like all these band allegations, whatever. And like, I was like a diehard like Warped Tour kid growing up, you know, like every single other, like every birthday, every like tiny like check from Subway or wherever I worked as a teenager, that would all go to like going towards going to concerts.
Right.
Then once I moved out here, I was kind of like, okay, well, this scene doesn't really seem like a place for girls anymore. And I think it was also just because like I was now 18 years old and it like kind of started setting in like what was actually going on. You know, like you get to a certain level of maturity and you realize, hey, that was weird that 24-year-old band guy wanted to hang out with me all the time. Like, you know,
it's very scary how like that hasn't gone away. Like we literally every week we do like news review and we're like, what vocalist got canceled this week? And like we fuck around with it even though it's like very serious because obviously it's fucked up that this happens at all. Right, but it's like it's almost like a meme at that point of like, oh yeah, just another one of our favorite bands, and just there we go.
It's almost like too common now to feel real, like, you know, it's like crazy. But yeah, so I moved out here and like all that stuff started happening, and then around that same time, like Warped Tour, you know, announced it was the last year of Warped Tour, so I was like, whatever, like I'll take a break from this scene. It is what it is. So I was working in that whole writing world, like very much behind the scenes. And then in 2019, I started like telling all of my friends that were working in the songwriting world, like, because we weren't getting like the placements we wanted and everything. And it's just like the songwriting grind is a very different grind from like the artist thing. You're still getting in the same amount of sessions, arguably sometimes more. And you're seeing like next to no return on it. But like you have to, I feel like, almost upfront even more money to go to these sessions because it's like full-time work versus like an artist project. You can kind of pick and choose your schedule better, but like as a songwriter you're like at the mercy of other artists' schedules. So like I wasn't making the money I wanted to make, wasn't seeing any really like, you know, I wasn't furthering my career in any sort of way. So I was saying to my friends in 2019 like, hey, I want to start this kind of alt project, and everyone was telling me they're like, the alt scene like is dying out, like you saw everything happening whatever with that, like if you're worried about making money now, like wait till you try and do that in a scene that's like dying. Like fast forward to literally 2 months later, Machine Gun Kelly releases a mainstream radio pop punk album. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? Like, I'm so sick of waiting for people to like, let me do stuff. So I ended up releasing Are You Tired? As an artist or like independent artist, like under a different name. At the time I was going by Rose, had to change that name because huge K-pop artist now, Rose. Like there was absolutely no way I could compete with one of the biggest names in all of K-pop. Like not a shot in hell that you would know who I was. Like it was honestly kind of funny because you would look up Rose artist, Rose band, Rose musician, not a single like thing about me. And that was after I'd already done like, because SiriusXM like or Octane was like cool about they always like pick up new artists or whatever, but people were tweeting at them constantly like get this girl on Octane because her song did well on TikTok.
Right.
So they had me on regular rotation there, and then that's what got me in contact with my label. But then like because at the time that like I got all this attention, I suddenly was gonna have to like change my name so no one would know anything about me at all. Like I still get now people just now realizing, oh, you put out that Are You Tired song or whatever. Yeah. So that's like kind of why there's absolutely nothing about me on the internet, but also like I said, wasn't really working in the artist world until like 2020 is when my first song took off. And then I was supposed to have, so I talked to a bunch of labels like right after that song blew up. Ended up signing like in February or something with Hopeless. So that would have been about 6 months after that song came out. Right. So that's already like a fair amount of time. And then I had like all these health problems come up, which I can go into later if we like start talking about the songs. But yeah, so I had all these health problems come up. So we had to push back the release of my song, which would have come out in like April, I think. So still like 8 months after the initial release. We didn't end up being able to get that song out until like the last week of August. So it was like borderline an entire year since my first song came out that I got to do anything as Scene Queen.
Oh my
So like in other people's like eyes, they're like, she disappeared for a year, came back a new person or whatever. But it was all like this stuff that just like had been planned for months ahead of time. But then like, you know, circumstances came up, I had to push it back or whatever. But it almost like benefited me in a weird way because I was already having to deal with like, I was stressed out about even changing my name because I was like, I just built up this like, however, like decent size of a following, not that big. Like, you know, it was about 100,000 on TikTok, but I had gone from like 5,000 or like 10,000 followers to I released Are You Tired? And within like 2 days got 120,000 on TikTok just from that one song.
That's not so bad. That's all right. Yeah, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, a decent growth for sure. Yeah. But yeah, so I had this like following and I was just like, oh God, I'm about to like kind of lose everything. But then like because stuff had to get pushed back, it almost worked out in my favor because I realized like, okay, now I'm just able to be a new artist, start fresh, which almost like helped me because I kind of shifted my sound anyway. Yeah. So it like was sort of the perfect, a bunch of series of things went wrong, but it ended up okay in the end. So I'm like happy about that now.
That's a crazy journey. I was going to ask a few things with that. Yeah. So like, especially with the song, because yeah, even at the intro I played Are You Tired? Because like when I listen to that track, I'm like, okay, here's Pierce the Veil. Here's the Warp scene. Like this is very much, you know, Warp Tour. And it's fun and it's good. It's catchy. It's got the hooks and all that. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. And then you throw on the more recent stuff and it's like, this is different. Like this is very like trap metal with low tune guitars. You know, the songs, if they go over 2.5 minutes, it's basically illegal in that.